What's going on, Buckeye Nation? Peter and Rob here, checking in with you for the biggest game of the young season so far. Of course, Georgia Bama happened, but now this is 2 versus 3. Ohio State, Oregon on the road in prime time in Eugene, Oregon. We've been looking forward to this one all off season, circled on the calendar. Of course, the Michigan game always takes precedence, but it's not Michigan week. It's Oregon week, and we're going to discuss this deep dive. Rob, how are you feeling? What's the excitement level after this football contest?
First off, I think it's going to be a very exciting weekend of college football. We have USC, Penn State. We have Oklahoma, Texas, the Red River
Yep.
rivalry, the Red River rivalry, and we also have Ole Miss, LSU. But the game, the prime time game, that 7:30 slot, is an ABC.
NBC.
Oh, it's going to be on NBC. And that is the Ohio State Buckeyes versus the Oregon Ducks. So really look into this matchup. Obviously it's a very highly anticipated matchup. Been talking about all of season. You know, Oregon has done their trash talk, claiming
Oh,
to be that team. What do they say, Peter?
yeah, they're trying to be that team out west, man.
Yep, trying to be that team out west. They showed up to Big Ten Media Day with their big rubber ducky raft. um, pretty much saying, "Hey, we're making our presence known in the Big Ten this year. We're gonna win it all. We're gonna win the Big Ten championship." But you got to put up or shut up. And this Saturday, they're gonna have their hands full, and I'm talking about the team with the number one defense in the nation and the number one offense in the nation. Personally, I think it's gonna be a dogfight. And one thing I was really worried about in the beginning of the season for Ohio State was the offensive line. My concerns have been somewhat addressed, and it gives me more confidence going into this game. Uh, so Oregon typically has a small defensive line, but they're bigger, faster, stronger. But seeing how Ohio State is pretty much dominating the line of scrimmage in their first games or so, I think that they're gonna play bully ball, and they're gonna out tough, and they're gonna be more physical than Oregon.
Yeah, what do you, on that point? Obviously, some teams have been able to run on Oregon so far, namely Ashton Johnson and Boise State. They ran for over, I think, 250 yards on the Duck defense, and with the two-headed monster that Ohio State possesses in Quinshawn and Travion, we better pound that, man. We better pound the rock in Eugene, and that's always an effective strategy for a road game too. So, how do you see it playing out when Ohio State has the ball? Does
Well,
Oregon have the horses to stop this high octane offense that the Buckeyes possess?
the name of the game is ball control. Who is going to dominate the time of possession? That's gonna be the name of the game. There's two high-powered offenses. If Ohio State is able to produce those drives, if the line is able to definitely control the line of scrimmage, I can definitely see them dominating the time possession, keeping the ball
Hmm.
out of Oregon's hands. And again, I think that's going to be the name of the game. You had Ryan Day and Chip Kelly talking about how the offensive line is one block away from springing the running backs, and we've seen those one blocks come to fruition. And you had Junkins, just complete monster, and then you have Henderson. They both have been brilliant through they really complement each other, especially Junkins. I could see why Lane Kiffin was extremely salty about
Hmm.
about losing him, and then crying about Ohio State's NIL money.
No
But
question.
you know if I and honestly, again, like, this is Oregon's first season of playing Big Ten ball, playing bully ball, playing physical ball. They got to be the more physical team, as we've seen throughout years and years of how to win Big Ten football. And right now, I mean, as we discussed in yesterday's show, Ohio State currently has one of the best offensive lines in the nation.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
I mean, combined, Junkins and Henderson, they have at least 250 rushing yards combined. Probably more, probably around that upper 290. But I think that Ohio State may have to go away from the passing a bit.
Hmm.
Because I know I'm probably beating a dead horse by saying this, but it's gonna be about who can dominate the time of possession.
Yeah, well, it's an interesting matchup, like you said. I mean, the offensive line, our O line versus their defensive front. Who's going to win that battle? I mean, Big Ten football traditionally is won in the trenches. Ohio State is kind of shaking that a little bit under Ryan Day, but yeah, passing the ball will be interesting too because obviously Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Buka, they have almost identical stats through these first 5 games, with Emeka having more receptions. But they're both on fire. Emeka coming off a 3 touchdown game. Now they got a good cornerback, Jabbar Muhammad. I think he leads the conference in pass deflections so far this season. You kind of hinted that we might have to play ground control and maybe not pass around as much. I think that's a good approach on the road. That's a pretty typical approach. Um, we'll see how those matchups play out, obviously, versus the Ducks. But one question before we transition to the defense, this one, it literally just came to me, and I want to pose this to you. This is the first matchup, obviously, Ryan Day versus Dan Lanning. Who has more pressure to win this football contest? Whoa.
Looking at the records versus top ranked teams, I mean, Ryan Day's last win versus a top 4 team was 2020 Clemson in the playoffs. And I don't think Dan Lanning has had a top a top win, but take take it from here real quick.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Dan Lanning, obviously, he went. He's 0-3 versus Washington so far. It's just not working out thus far versus the rival. Of course, he's got to improve that record, and I think he will definitely get his first win over Washington Huskies this this year for sure. I don't see that being an issue at all. But it's really intriguing in this matchup because Ryan Day nationally has a reputation of not quite performing up to par in big games, especially versus rival Michigan. Now, there's theories and there's factors into that. And he has beaten top 5 teams before. He's done it. It's just been a minute, like you said. So I want to say, I think, oh man, this is tough to answer my own question. I want to say probably there's slightly more pressure on Ryan Day. Slightly more pressure. Dan
Oh,
Lanning has a similar monkey on his back versus his rival that Ryan Day does, but this is a whole new ballgame. This isn't a rivalry, but it is a top 5 college game day. Eyes of the nation on you. Showdown. What do you think to answer that question? More pressure to win, Dan Lanning or Ryan Day?
they're both young,
Yeah.
somewhat of unproven coaches. I know that Ryan Day has, more under his belt. He has 2 Big Ten championships,
Yep.
a playoff win, but pretty much after that, he has a losing record against top 5 teams. It goes
Yeah.
all the way back to those Michigan games. You have, that Georgia team that they lost to in 2022. So, they're both in a way, they're both 2 unproven coaches who are trying to get that top covered win to, kind of get the monkey off their back. I mean, looking last season with Oregon, they had 2 opportunities to beat Washington, one regular season, just didn't do it, and then one in the Pac-12 championship, and they both fell short. So it's kind of like, you know, they've had comments saying, "Oh, Ryan Day and Dan Lanning are, is pretty much another James Franklin." They beat the teams that they're supposed to, but they can't get those top-notch wins. But I will say that due to the amount of hype that has surrounded Ohio State this entire offseason, and just the target they have on their back, the NIL target, the Ryan Day can't win the big games target, the they're not tough enough target, they're more finesse, they don't have a winning culture. I think Ryan Day has a lot to prove in terms of you know putting a silence to that type of rhetoric,
Sure,
and
sure.
having them moving forward, like, hey, we're the what, Michigan had their time in the they had their 15 minutes of fame, they had their time in the sunshine, but we're back and we're here to stay.
Yeah, that's the thing, man. It's there's so much writing on it for both coaches, but yeah, this is an opportunity to get the monkey out the bag, and we'll see how things transpire. Um, let's transition a little bit to when Oregon has the ball. Dylan Gabriel's the quarterback. I wanted to get out of the portal. I wanted him desperately out of the portal. Next, I wanted Cam Ward. He went to Miami, of course, as everybody knows, and he's performing at an elite level, as is Dylan Gabriel. Will Howard's doing well also, so I'm pretty happy and content with who we ended up with. But Gabriel's having a season, man, and Tez Johnson, his favorite target, already has 42 receptions on the year. That is, there are 43 receptions. That's 24 more receptions than anybody else on the roster for Oregon. But yet they're finding balance. Their tight end is involved. Ferguson, he's getting a lot of receptions. We're seeing um, Evan Stewart producing well for receivers. So they're really doing a great job of spreading the ball out. And Gabriel is orchestrating it well. But I will say this about Dylan Gabriel. In that MSU game last Friday night, he had 2 red zone interceptions. Critical, man. You can get away with that versus Michigan State because they're not good enough to punish you. You can't end drives with turnovers against Ohio State. And I know Oregon fans, excuse me, are thinking about that and his performance last Friday night. Give me your take on the Oregon Duck offense. James and Gabriel Johnson, all this high flying, throw it around offense. What do you expect from the Buckeye defense when we face a threat like Gabriel and the Oregon Ducks?
If the Ohio State defense keeps everything in front of them, doesn't allow these receivers to have a lot of space, doesn't allow Dylan Gabriel to, be able to take his time back there in the pocket. Kind of like, Michigan State made him kind of uncomfortable, and that's where he made his mistakes.
Yeah.
So, if there was any game where JT Tumaloa and Jack Sawyer
Mm,
had get that motor going. Well, I'm not worried about Jack Sawyer. He's definitely got that motor going. More worried about JT Tumalo. Maybe this will be another game where he just comes alive and he puts up a Penn State type performance.
hopefully.
Um, yeah, hopefully. But if they're able to get after Dylan Gabriel and kind of and just force his throws, like I think eventually it's gonna pay off and he's gonna make some mistakes. I mean, especially like, and if their o- if their offense does get like worse as the field shrinks, hopefully it doesn't get down to that where they're score in threat of scoring a good amount.
Yeah.
Um, I think 9 times out of 10, Ohio State's gonna win those battles. Not really worried about the secondary. Of
Yeah.
course, secondary is elite. Um, more worried about the linebackers. There could be some we could see the ball thrown down the middle of the field a lot with those receivers, with those speedy receivers doing crossing routes. And Sonny Styles, he better get together, look alive, and kind of like, I feel like he's still kind of doing on the job training type of thing.
He is.
But it's just like, it's so he played safety last season, so he was so used to dropping back in coverage. But for some reason, he looks lost at linebacker.
Yeah.
So, but I think that Ohio State has the number 1 defense in the country for a
Mm-hmm.
reason.
Mm-hmm.
I think if they make this team one-dimensional, they make them run the ball, I think it's game over. Um,
All
I
right.
I honestly thought that, who is it? Caleb Johnson?
Yeah.
Caleb Johnson, I think he was gonna rush over 100 yards again. I was really worried about that, but Ohio State's defensive line proved me wrong. And if I'm not, you can correct me, but I don't think Oregon's offensive line is all that good, is it?
No, they've been a talking point for the season so far, for sure.
So yeah, like we have Tyreek Williams, Jack
Yep.
Sawyer, JD Tuimoloau. Who else is there? Ty.
Ty Hamilton. Yep.
Yep, Ty Hamilton.
You have to score for them.
If they just get everything right off the bat and not come out come out sleepwalking, I think it could potentially be a long day for Oregon. But
Interesting.
we'll see what Dan Lanning has dialed up for this game. So
Yeah, well, we know the series history. Ohio State leads the all-time series 9 games to 1. Of course, the Oregon Ducks took the most recent one that was in Columbus in 2021. We were able to discuss this a little bit on the Team Rivalry show last night, Big Ten Team Rivalry. I gave my score prediction. I actually wrote down a different score than what I gave on the show because I changed my mind as I thought about it more. I have Ohio State handling this one with a late touchdown, a late addition, mind you, but a two-score win. I have it at 38-24 Ohio State. I don't see Oregon getting into the 30s against Ohio State. The defense is too good. I know their offense is phenomenal, but they have some issues that have been exposed by lesser teams, and Ohio State is not a lesser team. And so that's my prediction, 38-24 Buckeyes. Take it on the road in Eugene. Give me a score, man. What you thinking? How does this play out? Is it a shootout or is it a tight nail biter?
I think the final score is 42-35.
Okay, so
Actually,
pretty tight.
I'm gonna change my prediction. Actually, all
Sure.
right, because I wasn't 35 points is way too much for the number 1 defense
Ooh,
in the country.
that would be
I'm
painful.
I'm gonna go with 38 to 24.
You're going
30,
same as me. Okay.
yeah,
All
38
right.
to 24.
That's how we see it playing out, folks. I mean,
Yeah.
hey, this is, and let's be upfront and
Wait,
honest
wait,
about
wait,
it.
wait. You did 38-24. All right, now I gotta
Yeah.
change it. 38 to 21.
All
38 to
right.
21.
We both of us thought in this offseason leading into this 2024 year that the 1L Ohio State was going to take was going to be to this Oregon Duck program. They started off the year and they were not performing at an elite level. They have since worked some kinks out. I don't see us losing this game anymore, man. I chalk it up as a W. I'm not going to say I'm 100% confident in that, but I mean, everybody on the Big Ten Team Rivalry show picked Ohio State last night, except Mac, but that was not like he thinks Oregon's going to win. That was, I hope they win, not I think they're going to win. And so that's kind of the consensus nationally, I think, that Ohio State is going to take this. Will Howard's taking care of the football, but he's also making plays. And he's very confident, man. And that's a big difference we had from Common Core last year. So I do see the Bucs taking it in Eugene. It's the biggest matchup, man. I can't wait, bro. Like, any final thoughts before we sign off?
They really need to put a spy on Dylan Gabriel.
Yes.
It made me nervous to see how much the Marshall quarterback was able to run on Ohio State's defense. If
Right.
Dylan Gabriel can't beat you with his arms at certain plays, he's gonna try to beat you with his legs, and he is mobile.
He is very electric with his legs.
So they definitely need to put a spy on him.
That
So
is one aspect I'm surprised they haven't unleashed more, though, to be completely honest. Because at Oklahoma, I think he had like 700 yards rushing. He's got like 50 for the season, I think, at Oregon so far. But they could unleash him. But it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. We both have the Bucks winning. Rob 38-21. I've got it 38-24 Ohio State. Man, if they beat them by 17, wow. I'm feeling really confident we'll be undefeated for the rest of the year. So, but that's going to do it for tonight. Can't wait. We're highly anticipating this showdown coming Saturday night in Eugene, Oregon. Ohio State versus Oregon. Number 2 versus number 3. The showdown everybody's been waiting for. Go Bucks and God bless. We'll see you on the next one. All right.
OH.
I-O.